looks like we're live here, and welcome to the Chiustream on Livestream. It's great to get away from work a little bit every once in a while, even though I love work, I love what I'm doing. It's always nice to just get away a little bit, to just do some art for yourself. That's something that I highly kind of recommend and promote and things like that, because I believe that that's the key to longevity in this career. It's interesting. I had this interesting conversation with somebody. The person was, in their 20s, and I had the same kind of feeling in my 20s, which was, how do I get successful? How do I get a good job? And that was like the goal, the question that everybody wanted to know. How do you get a great job? Well, in your 30s, mid-30s, 40s, you start to think, well, how do I stay in these great jobs? How do I keep doing, all these things when you start to see all these other people starting to get weeded out? And as well, you see a lot of new guys coming in that perhaps are a lot younger or whatever, and they know all this new technical, all these programs and things like that, and then you start to feel it even more, So I think one of the best things that I really tried to do consciously was listen to the older people around, because those people, the things that they worry about are the things that you're going to be worrying about later on. That's something that I feel has always helped me quite a bit, is the fact that I tend to listen a lot to older people, and just to see, how they are now and what are their concerns about. Because, pretty much, well, very, very likely, you're going to go through the same things as well. So health, family, friends, things like this. So all these things that the older people will talk about, and the younger people kind of don't really focus on in their 20s as much. They're much more focused on their careers, which is great as well, but balance is really the key. Anyhow, I want to start off by just saying a couple little rules on how this is going to work, so that things work better and better every time. I posted a post on my Facebook. You can get to my Facebook from the little address that I put up here. Ask your questions in the comments of the Facebook. That way we won't have to keep posting all your questions in the chat over and over again. And a lot of times it seems to be very hard to read those questions, because the chat's just going bonkers. So for this one, let's put your questions into the comments on my Facebook page, and then I can just very easily go through all those comments and address each one. You won't have to ask the same question over and over and over again. And then people can chat in the chat, and I can read the chat as well, and I think overall it'll be a lot better that way. Okay, so I want to start off by, I guess, I did write something down. The thing that I wanted to share with you guys today, I always want to share some tips and things like that. So the thing that I want to share with you guys today is a story, and hopefully it comes with a lesson, right? There's this person that I met in Angouleme, in Angouleme, France. Spanish artist, really awesome artist, really, really awesome. And you know, the person asked me to take a look at his portfolio. Okay, so I took a look at it and I was like, wow, this is really great. You know, you say that you want to be in movies and stuff. You should totally go to this convention in Burbank called CTN. So, you know, he listened and he went. Now, you know, in these conventions, even though I truly thought this guy, still think this guy is doing an awesome job with his art, you know, at these conventions, you might meet, you know, 100 people, but then people with tables that are at tables might meet actually more like 1,000 people. You know, and I have a pretty good memory of names and things like that, but 1,000 people in over like a weekend, talking with 1,000 people, your memory is not going to be that great, especially because you know, there's something that just happens when you meet too many people, you talk to too many people, you look at too many things, your brain just turns into mush by the end of the day. So it's very, very hard to remember people that you would usually remember, you know, at a convention. So fast forward to, I'm at CTN, I'm at the event that I told this person to go to. Okay, and you know, I really, really like this person's art, but I forgot about him. Right, this is months later. This, you know, Angouleme, that happens in February. CTN happens in November, so months have passed. So then this person meets me again, you know, sees me at CTN, comes to my table, and says, "Hey, Bobby, how's it going?" I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? Pretty good." You know, and he was like, "Do you remember me?" I could tell you right now that's the worst question to ask somebody at these conventions, because nothing good is going to come out of it. On a normal day, in normal circumstances, I would totally have remembered this person. But obviously, you know, it became an awkward moment, as you probably could tell, where this, you know, story is headed. It became an awkward moment where I was just like, "Oh man, please don't do this to me." And then he was like, "What? You don't remember me?" Now the thing about this was that this person is very memorable because one of his arms is of a very different size than the other arm. It's noticeable. So he showed me his little arm and he said, "You don't remember me." And I was, you know, I felt even worse because it was like, obviously this person is very different, and he came all the way from Spain to go and see this convention, and you know, because of me telling him to go, and you know, he put us in this awkward position where it's like, well, you know, right now, I honestly don't really remember you too much. I'm sorry, you know, maybe you could help me. And, you know, it's just like this look of disappointment. What I would recommend, you know, and this is what I do as well, even though some people might know me, what I do is, even if I think you might know me, I will say, "Hi, how's it going? It's Bobby. I'm not sure if you remember, but, you know, I did this and this and this, or, you know, we talked at this time and this and that," and give somebody, you know, a bit of a memory jog so that they aren't put in this awkward position, and then they can, you know, say, "Oh yeah, I totally remember you. You know, how's it going?" Because you don't want to put a person into a situation where it's like they feel like they need to say, "Oh yeah, I remember you." Then all of a sudden they're lying, you know. And I don't want to ever be kind of put in that situation either, where, you know, I feel like I need to lie to make somebody feel okay, you know. So yeah, that's my little story that I want to share. It's not just for the person that you're going to be talking to, but it's for you as well to save yourself from a very awkward moment. Okay? Okay, so let me go to some of the comments here, or the questions here. And remember, the questions, post them on my Facebook page. This way I can read them, my own pace and all this stuff. In how many hours does the stream begin? Right now! Somebody already answered that one. Hey Bobby, I have a question for you. When you're going to make interview with when are you going to make interviews with great artists again? I actually have two that I'm very excited about. One is I recently interviewed Claire Wendling, one of my absolute heroes. In school, I pretty much carried around only 2 art books, if I ever did carry around an art book. One was, I went through my, Steven Silver phase, my Steven Silver sketchbooks with me. I went through my little Dean Yeagle phase. I went through my Peter DeSev phase, and I went through a very long Claire Wendling phase where I'd just carry her sketchbooks with me all the time, just checking them out and marveling at her amazing skills of painting or drawing animals and women, and just the most breathtaking art. So for years I've always heard that, oh, Claire, she's a little shy, she doesn't she hasn't been feeling well, or things like that, and pretty much it's hard to see her, it's hard to find her, contact her, all that stuff, right? That's what I heard. And then I went to Angouleme in France, and turns out that she lives in Angouleme, and we have some mutual friends, and I got to meet her, and then I said, you know what, let me interview you for Schoolism. So that was done just I guess a few days ago, or maybe a week ago. So look out for that. And I also just interviewed Steven Silver, my good buddy Steven, again, just talking about portfolios, because we go to so many conventions together. I thought it'd be a great idea to make an interview just talking about seeing portfolios from the reviewer's point of view, and what's going to really captivate somebody that's seen hundreds of portfolios in one day. I thought that was a really good kind of way to, just give the people out there something helpful. Okay, and if you just tuned in, I'm doing this little drawing here. It's pretty much, it's for myself, but I'm going to be giving this drawing to somebody out there in the world. Okay, all you need to do is go to my Facebook page, and then you can share the post, and I will pick somebody at random. Okay? Oh, okay, somebody's saying it seems like people can't comment if they're not my friends on Facebook. Man, what the heck? Okay. I guess I'll try to figure something out next time. For now, I guess we could go to the chat. Okay, we'll go to the chat, and I'll read the questions from there. But for anybody new that came into the chat today, what I'd like to do with this whole broadcasting thing is just form a little group. Form a little group where we get together, talk about art, talk about being an artist, answer some questions, and pretty much just draw together. Okay, so if you're an artist and you're not doing anything, you could just listen to this, or even better, you could doodle with me, you could draw some stuff with me, and you know, I'd love to see them if you post them into my Facebook comments there. I guess you can only do that if you're my friend, though. I'll try to figure that out. Okay, so I'm only able to draw people naturalistic. How can I improve my skills? That's a good question. Well, you know what? I used to teach life drawing, right? I used to teach life drawing, which means you have a model there and you draw the model. What I found was that it was really interesting because there were a lot of artists that were really good at life drawing. Okay, this is at Sheridan College in just outside of Toronto, Canada. Well, just outside of Toronto. The thing was that even though there were a lot of good life drawers, a lot of these life drawers couldn't draw a character design to say their, well, it was very different. Their character designs at that time were very different on a whole nother level than their life drawings, and their life drawings were much better. And then I had, you know, probably a little less people, but still a good amount of people that were great character designers. They could draw characters, they could draw poses, but they couldn't do life drawing. Now, why is that? Well, because life drawing is like the gym, okay? Life drawing is like the gym, and you go to the gym every day and you wonder why your biceps aren't getting bigger. It's because you're doing the wrong exercises. Life drawing, everybody's drawing the model, but they're all using different parts of the brain. It depends on what kind of thinking you're using as your life drawing or creating characters in general. That will determine what parts of your brain are going to be improved on. You know, what parts of your brain are going to strengthen. Now, if you just do life drawing where you're looking at the model and you're measuring out these angles, you're trying to capture the same proportions, you're trying to you know, capture the same exact lighting and all this stuff, and measuring out drapery, if there's drapery, all that stuff, well, you know what? You are exercising the muscles in your brain that help you to copy things, not to create things. If you want to be a better creator, you must look at whatever your reference is and think of it more as inspiration for your creation as opposed to perhaps reference. You know, the reference to be used properly for training yourself to do concept art, it should be just the reference for your own creation. In other words, you're going to rethink, rework, redo everything, you know, with the same essence of what it is that you're seeing, what it is that you're looking at. So if you want to get better at, you know, drawing characters or just concept art, designing, you have to exercise that part of your brain where you are constantly, you know, trying to think, creating. Now, how do you do that, really? And that was something that was really great. One of the things in the interview with Claire Wendling is that she explained this. She was talking about an exercise. I was asking her, what was one of the big things that you did to really, really help your art? And she was saying, well, she would draw a lot from imagination, but it wouldn't stop there. After she started, you know, after she drew things from imagination, she would look at books, look at photos, look at anatomy, all these things to see if there were any mistakes, to see if she was accurate. And then she would learn from her mistakes, right, and so on and so forth, growing her library of knowledge. And you need a library of knowledge in whatever it is that you're doing. You might think, oh, I don't need anatomy knowledge because I'm doing vehicles all the time. Well, guess what? Scott Robertson would probably say you do need to know anatomy. You need to know the anatomy of a car, of a plane, of, you know, all these different vehicles, right? If you don't have a library, then that means you know, a library of knowledge. If you're not consistently kind of building up your library of knowledge, then you're not going to be able to draw from any of the, you know, previous artists, or just even the knowledge in the world, to create your own worlds. Well, how are you going to do it then, right? It's not going to turn out too well if you do it that way. Okay, let's see. I'm still going to finish off some of these questions that I can see here in the Facebook, since they already posted it. Do you have any advice for people wanting to make a career change to do what you're doing in their late 30s? Definitely. You know, if you are not consistently learning, you know, since, well, yeah, if you're not consistently learning all the time, then your muscles in your brain, kind of thing, for learning will get weaker. They'll get rusty. And that's why people think that's so hard to start, you know, new things as they get older, because their whole entire, you know, habits of learning are now gone. So get ready to get that rust off. You know, you gotta remember how it was when you were in school, being patient, you know, doing something a whole bunch of times and still having it look bad before eventually it starts to look good. Now, if you can handle that, then I'd say you have what it takes to become, you know, an awesome artist starting in your 30s. Absolutely. The hardest thing is, you know, when you're out of school for a while, you get a job, you're doing well, you start just concentrating on your job. If you stop learning, it gets it gets much harder later on if you do have to learn anything new. So keep learning. Gotta keep learning. Where can I post my work to receive good critiques? I don't know. I think the more important thing is how to get good critiques from people that you want to get critiques from. I think that's a better question. Well, one is think about the person's point of view, okay? Whoever it is that you're going to ask. Think about their lives. What do you think goes on in their lives? Think about what you're writing and think about how it seems from that person's point of view when they read it. Let me give you an example. I don't want to embarrass anybody, so obviously I'm not going to say any names, but I got this funny email yesterday, and it's from a university student saying, yeah, I'm doing this project, you know, about artists in the industry, and I have some questions that I'd love for you to answer. You know, something like that. Here you go, and get back to me before March 5th, because that's when my paper is due. Like, okay, well, from my point of view, no, I'm not gonna do that. You know, because why? Because if I do that for every email that I get, and with such time pressure, I wouldn't get all of the things that I need to get done. You know, I literally get up, I've been getting up at around 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting to work before 6, and then staying till, sometimes way past dinner. So my time is already stretched really, really thin. If you're going to ask me a bunch of questions, definitely be a bit more thoughtful about it. Not only that, but you could start off by just saying something that indicates how much that person kind of means to you, or how much you know of that person. You could say, "Hey Bobby, I was at your stream and I had a question, but you couldn't answer it at that time," which I totally understand. But if you have some time now, would you mind answering this very simple question? And just keep it like one question or something like that. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that this person would ask me questions like, how much do you make? Let me ask you, would it be considered rude to ask your uncle or aunt, "Hey, how much do you make?" Would it be rude to ask your boss or a teacher how much you make? The funny thing is that it's a college assignment. So I don't know if perhaps the teacher was the one that actually, told her to ask me that question. That's crazy. That just goes to show, just because you're good at art doesn't mean that you can teach somebody how to be an artist. You have to be a person that actually does art out there to be able to teach somebody totally correctly or much more effectively than just a person that learns how to draw and paint and that's it, and now the person's teaching. Not to knock any of them for their ability to teach how to draw. That's a different subject. What I'm saying is the business side of things is just as important, because we go to school to learn to be an artist, not to just learn how to paint and draw. We're learning how to become an artist that works, that does good jobs, that, has a good career. Okay. So somebody's saying that you can actually post on your fan page. People can post questions or comments on my fan page. I'll take a look at that and we'll try that next time. Okay, I guess for now I'm just gonna do it like how I did last time and just go through a bunch of these questions in the chat. How to form good habits and keep them for a long time. How to beat, laziness and procrastination. I love these questions because I was definitely not, I still don't have perfect habits, of course, but I used to have much worse habits. I never really followed routines, didn't always do everything super efficiently, played a lot of video games, things like that. So how do you get good habits and let them keep them, right? I think it really comes down to your principles, your morals. What are your principles? What do you believe in? What would you not do for $1 million? What lines would you not cross? This helps to really kind of solidify what kind of a person you are and what kind of a person you intend to be. Do you intend to be a person that just does something once or twice, even though it's good for you? You get lazy and you just kind of drop off? Is that what you believe in? You know, start to really solidify that. And let me just say this, okay? People get influenced by different things. Some people, you know, they get influenced because of their fans. So the more comments they get and things like that, the more that they'll post. Right? So that will a lot of times determine what they're going to do. So for example, perhaps you need to get back to a bunch of students that you should have been marking, or some artwork that you should have been doing for somebody else, but you know what, you don't really have the heart and the passion to do it. That isn't like the number one thing that you want to do. Instead, you are very much kind of fan oriented, so you would rather do a post just for your Facebook than to work on the things that you're getting paid to do. Right? Then there's the people that might be very much work centered, so they don't post anything. You know, because all of the things that they're doing is very secretive or whatever, and then they neglect their fans. You know, so what do you do? What do you let influence you in your life? Right? Perhaps it's your family that you're really centered around, and you would do anything for your family, and even though it doesn't really mean that, you know, it's not that big of a deal to, you know, take your son out for whatever it is that you promised. Perhaps your son doesn't even really care as well and could easily change the time. But because you're so family oriented, then you drop a very, very important business thing that you should have been doing for your family. And in the long run, if you took the business thing, then that would have actually helped your family, because you would have made, you know, a killer amount on it, and it would catapult your, you know, status to a whole nother level. And in the long run, it would actually be very good for your family. You know, but you didn't do it because you're just so family oriented. Or you could be, you know, friend oriented, or self-centered, where it's all about yourself and that's the only thing you care about. And you know, each person, when you're influenced by these different things that much, you become kind of like, you start to make your decisions based off of what influences you. Well, what if those are the wrong kind of people around you? What if the things that influence you are the wrong things that should influence you, and it's turning your life the wrong direction? Then what do you do? You know, so that's why it comes back to principles again. You know, a lot of people, when I was growing up, you know, we would have this saying where it's like, okay, yeah, keep it real. You go off to college, keep it real, buddy. Graduate college, keep it real, buddy. You know, and what does that really mean, keep it real? Does it mean stay your true self? Well, what is your true self? If you've been influenced by friends and family and, you know, work and whatever else all this time, perhaps you haven't even been your true self this whole entire time. You've been more like, you know, the result of your surroundings. But if you take a good amount of time to just sit there and just really think about life, think about what you believe in, and start to create your own kind of principles of what you believe in, what you live for, what you probably would die for, you know, that kind of thing. That's how you keep it real. You know, that's how you stay true to yourself. And a lot of times, you know, how does this relate to art? Well, a lot of times you get job offers that are not true to yourself. These kind of things, really thinking about your whole career, thinking about what you believe in, things like that, will help steer you away from jobs that are not going to help your overall career. For example, well, never mind. But I've had my own kind of jobs where it's like, why did I take that job? It totally wasn't what I do. You know, I think the example I was thinking of was this in the very, very, very beginning, years and years ago, designing some designs for some underwear. It's like, why? Why would I do that? At that time it was because of the money, but really I wasn't starving. I didn't need the money. I could have done without it. Okay, so let's go to a question in the comments here in the chat. Can you tell us about about some of your early teaching experiences at Sheridan College? Sure. I taught life drawing at Sheridan College, and it was a great learning experience. It's such a great learning experience. At the time, in the very beginning, I didn't have much clout. I wasn't doing that much that people knew about. I was working on some pretty cool projects, but I couldn't tell anybody about them just yet. So I feel like if I was to change anything through that experience, it would be that I felt like I was very self-conscious about about me teaching, that people wouldn't take me seriously, because I already kind of look, young, but, back then I looked really young, I think, and some of the students looked older than me, and it's fine if you have a big name for yourself, but I didn't, so I felt a little bit more self-conscious. So I felt like I needed to let them know, justify why it is I'm here, and perhaps, I would say, oh yeah, I did this and I did that, and it was just too much of that, the whole entire thing of just like, well, I did this, I did that, I met this person, I know this person, that kind of thing. So through my teaching experience there, it really taught me that people will listen if you have something good to say. So if you're going to teach, just make sure that your teaching is very, very thought out and has just loads of information. Not just loads of information, here's a big one, that it's entertaining. My goodness. It's funny how some teachers that I've, heard talk and everything, they talk about, oh, I gave them all the information. I always, I conducted a really good class, gave them all this information, gave them all these handouts, yet nobody reads them, yet nobody remembers the information. Man, these students, they don't blah, 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 blah. But you know what? Let's take a little bit of that feeling and think, how am I contributing to this? You can't change what somebody's going to do, but you can change what you do. And if you have any kind of part in it, then if you change what you're doing, you would then change the situation. Right? I feel like teachers it's such an important job. Great teachers shouldn't just teach information. It should be inspiring. It should be somewhat entertaining. It should be very interesting. If you have all this great information, you don't give it in that way, guess what? You're not teaching well. That's my own kind of feeling of this, that you're not teaching well if you're doing that. Teaching well means that everybody's going to be into it and everybody's going to learn. And if they don't learn, it's not just their fault. It's the teacher's fault as well. I used to take notes on the different students, which I think is another thing that I wish more teachers would do. Take individual notes on the different students, because every student works in a different way. You'll find that some students can take criticism and love the hardcore kind of teaching. And then some students don't like that. They need to be nurtured a bit. They're fragile, and they will cave under pressure if you start, going at them and try to make them work harder. It's much better to concentrate on what they're doing right and then offer them something else that they can do right as well. Okay. I think now we could do a little roll call to just let everybody else know, on this, in the chat and everything, that we're not alone here. We're not drawing alone. We're not trying to be artists just by ourselves there. That there's a whole giant group of us, hundreds of us, that, are just as passionate and perhaps could use the company as well to encourage us, to push us further. So right now, if you're on the chat, I would love for you guys to just type in where you're from, and I'm going to give some shout outs to all these different people from all over the world, so that we all know that we're all in it together. So there's Singapore, always. What's going on? And Germany, Singapore, Toronto, Poland, oh my goodness, too many. Toronto, and Sweden, Italy, Lebanon, right on, Denmark, Philadelphia, Las Vegas, Romania, Turkey, Brazil, holy smokes, right on, England, right on, guys. Great to have you, join me, and I hope this is something that we can keep doing. I hope you guys are drawing as you're listening to this, because that really is one of the key kind of things that you have to do to really make it in this industry. You got to be hardcore. You got to really love what you do. Either that, or you have to go through a huge period of time where you were really, really hardcore and you really, really loved what you do. And even then, I still am the person kind of person to believe you can't stop there. You got to keep going. You might as well keep going if you did, so well already. Why stop the things that you were doing that got you to where you are? Right? So you got to keep going. Let's see if there's any other comments. Mexico's here, right on. New Hampshire, Spain, France. Awesome. How important, or okay, hold on. Any tips on putting a portfolio together? Should I show a couple of finished sketches and sketches that are built from scratch? You know what? I would say that, yeah, showing your progress is great, but more important than that is be original. If your portfolio looks like the other person's portfolio, then that's not good. Okay, if you're just displaying technical skills, I don't think that that's that good either. Because technical skills is something that can be taught to other people, and that doesn't make you as valuable. What makes you truly valuable is, your ideas. Ideas are the things that are absolutely priceless, and if somebody wants your idea, there is no replacement for that. So concentrate on how cool or viral your ideas are. You know, what is it that you're painting? Okay, you painted a great, girl character. She's on a motorcycle. But, what is it about the painting that makes us care? What about that painting would make us remember it even more, right? Even more important. Especially when you're dealing with situations where it's like you're going to convention, you're showing your portfolio around. So is everybody else. So how is your portfolio going to stand out? How do you get good ideas? That was another question that I saw there. Yeah, I went to this really good talk with John Cleese, the actor, writer. He was Q in James Bond, and he was also part of Monty Python. Anyways, he was talking about creativity, and he was talking about great ideas, and one thing that really kind of struck me as being really cool is just using your subconscious to figure out ideas. So what he would do is he would tell himself, okay, I need to think of a great idea by, whatever time, whatever day. So next Monday. I need to think about a great idea next Monday, or a great character in my case, or, so, okay, great. Well, I'm not going to make any final decisions until Monday for what idea am I going for, because why make decisions early when you need to make them by a certain time, right? Why don't you just kind of sit on it for a bit and think about it because you can. The other thing is when you give yourself a due date for that great idea, when you have a due date, then you can just kind of look at all this reference, all this inspiration, all these ideas, and let them mull in your head for a bit. If you're constantly thinking, okay, the great idea needs to come by Monday. So you're kind of constantly thinking about all these little ideas. And when you go to sleep, John Cleese says that you're still thinking about these ideas through your subconscious. And I think it's true. A lot of times I'll just get up, using this method, I'll just get up, think about something again, that same thing again for like half an hour, and then all of a sudden, boom, I have the idea in my head. And that's an important one because, doing concept art, doing character designs, you're getting paid to come up with great ideas. How difficult is that? Because it's not like I can tell you, okay, it'll take 2 hours to finish this painting. I can't tell you, oh, it'll take me 4 hours to come up with a great idea. That doesn't happen. So hope that answers that question. Think about your due date for that idea, and then gather up all this inspiration, all this reference, all these bits and pieces. Fill your head with them, and then just let your brain kind of mull it over. Usually by the time you need to come up with that great idea comes, you will come up with it. Let's see, what other questions are there here? Okay. Do you think there's such a thing as developing a false passion? What would you tell those people? why is it that you're passionate about what it is that you're doing? I think that would be a very good start. Some people are, they might just be passionate about achieving their goal, but they don't look at what their goal is as much as they should. Let's go another question. Okay, what are your thoughts about copyright issues and originality? What to avoid doing in order to become successful in the art industry? Copyright issues and originality. Well, one is, using other people's work to somehow create your own work. I think that's fine as long as it's there as inspiration, not as copying. You might take elements out of other people's work and apply it into your own. That's great. Caution would be to make sure that you look at more than one artist and you aren't just one-trick pony. You study only one artist, you're going to be kind of drawn like that artist, and most likely most likely you're not going to be as known as that other artist. So obviously it's not a good route to go down by being somebody else's kind of copycat. How do we do the business side if we've never gone to an actual art school? Nick Fury asks. You know what? That's funny that you have the "if we've never gone to an actual art school," because in art school I learned nothing about practical business sense to be an artist. The whole world has changed, so even if they did teach me a bunch of stuff, it probably wouldn't even be that relevant now. Remember, just to put this into context, back then the advice would be make 2,000 postcards and send them out to every art director, every studio that you can find. Hopefully 0.1% of them will answer you back. That's not nearly the closest way to get your stuff out there anymore, right? Because you have all this social media at your fingertips that reaches far more than a bunch of postcards in the mail. And not only that, you're wasting paper, you're wasting money to print it out. How I learned, the business side of things is really from my dad, I think, for the most part. My dad, he owned his own business, and even as little kids, he would tell us about his problems at work, and then he'd ask us, me and my brother, what would you do? Here's the problem, what would you do? I'm like 5 or 6. I don't know, maybe share your whatever it is that you're and eventually I would come up with good ideas. And I feel like leaving business away from the dinner table, I feel like I'm glad he didn't. Because dinner is like one of those times where you have the most kind of FaceTime with your parents. It's the best time for them to teach you stuff. Is it a good exercise to redraw good artists' characters in art? Magdalena asks. Yes, that's a very good exercise if it's done in the right way. Don't just copy the art. Afterwards, try to memorize the art and draw it out of your head. Really ingrain those things that you learn from copying, from drawing, and ingrain them into your skull. You know, that's the best way to do it. What I did constantly was I would draw, perhaps I'd copy from somebody, and then I would try to draw it out of my head. And then I would try to draw it the next day after having a day off, and just kind of just draw it out of my head again. See how close I am. Do it again, do it again, do it again, until you totally understand why that artist drew everything that they did. If you just copy from one thing to the next, it's much harder to have it really affect your art. Okay, bunch of good questions. Almost out of time. I'll take a couple more. I feel very frustrated when I show people something I feel like it's my best work, yet don't get the reaction I was expecting. Has this happened to you? Is there a way to avoid this? Well, if you're showing people stuff to get a pat on the back, I think the best way to avoid it is to work on yourself. But I definitely know what you mean, okay? Because artists, we all kind of feel like that in some way or another. It's kind of like this show and tell. Look what I made. I spent all this time. Look what I made. Do you like it? Hoping that the person will be like, yeah, I really like it. Change your focus, okay? It's not about the art that you make. It's about the process of making that piece of art. It doesn't matter how good or bad the art is in the end. Well, it might matter a little bit, but it shouldn't matter nearly as much as what you learned, what you experienced from doing the art. Okay, once you kind of think like that, then you stop really caring as much about the final product. It's much more enjoyable, the whole entire experience of making the art. You know, because sometimes that kind of stuff doesn't even stop. You know, and sometimes it's really good when you can find somebody that can totally constantly see the little holes that you don't see. You know, Kay Asadera, we do a lot of the projects, movies together, and we're working on Alice in Wonderland 2 together right now. She's like my, better half, and she's constantly telling me, yeah, it looks okay, it looks a little bit flat, or, tells me like things that nobody else would tell me. And it's good that way. It's really, really good that way, because she constantly keeps me in check. I might be painting something for a very long time, and I really, really like it, and then I'll show her, and then she'll be like, it's okay. It's pretty good. You could do better. Stuff like that. It's awesome. Really, you need those kind of people. You don't just need people that pat your back all the time. I guess you need both. I think that's the best kind of answer for that. Okay, so last question. Okay. Let's see. Last question here. How difficult is it to break into the industry as a concept artist? It's totally, totally difficult. Okay? It's very, very difficult to break into the concept art industry. I'll tell you why. It's because people feel that it's impossible. They feel like they can't do it. And because they feel like they can't do it, of course it's going to make it 10 billion times harder to actually do it. It's those people that believe, like they believe that they can invent something and make them fly. and then they build an airplane. You know, it's the people that really believe that we could take the best education from the best artists that have no time to teach in regular schools and put it on the internet so that everybody can learn. That was a very new concept when we were thinking about, you know, schoolism, when I was thinking about schoolism. So I don't even know where that's going, but yeah. Let's take one last question. Okay, so do you think there's such a thing as developing a... Oh, I already read that one. Let's go a little bit further. Let me see if there's any more questions on my Facebook page, and then I'll announce the winner of this little drawing here. I guess there's no other questions on the Facebook thing, so I'll take a look at the chat. How do you stay in shape when you draw all the time? Staying in shape is actually super important to me. You know, I'm not like buff or nothing, but I do exercise. You know, for years I really didn't exercise very much, you know, regularly anyways. And then I had all these arm problems, you know, back problems, because I wouldn't take any breaks either. So think about it like this. Anybody can sprint, but it's the ones that kind of maintain their pace and think about the long run that are able to do the marathons. And unless you just want to work for, you know, 5 years, 3 years, you're in it for the marathon. So you got to pace yourself. You got to constantly use good judgment and build good routines, exercise, eat well, take breaks, and learn more. You know, sharpen your skills, add value to what you do. Okay, so why don't we end off this little stream here by announcing the winner of this drawing. Okay, not sure if you can see this too well, but I like this drawing. It's looking pretty fun. Okay, so I'm gonna just open up all of the shares, and we are gonna send this out to somebody out there in the world. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to, you know, announce the winner, and then I'm going to message you for your address. Okay, and then I'll mail it out to you. So, random person, Kelsey Bass. Kelsey Bass, if you are online, you are the winner. Okay, you're gonna win this little original sketch here, a little drawing, and then I'm gonna write a little something for you inside, sending positive vibes to you wherever you are in the world. Okay, and that is, let me write it down. Kelsey Bass. Okay, Kelsey Bass, you're the winner. Congratulations. And you know, for everybody out there, I hope you guys were drawing. I know you know I was, right? And as long as we keep just constantly drawing, constantly kind of encouraging each other, I guarantee you that it's going to be hard, very, very hard for a lot of people to catch up to you in the long run. Because you can't catch up to somebody that's constantly moving forward. Okay, so thank you everybody that showed up to do the stream with me. Come back next week, next Thursday, same thing, same time. Okay, and it's going to be another drawing that I'm going to give out there into the world. And be prepared to do some drawing yourself. Okay, let's all just draw together. All right, so thanks everybody. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And if anybody's going to Florence or in the area, we are doing a Schoolism Live workshop March 13th with Tara Whitlatch and Nathan Fowkes. Nathan has been just crushing it in the industry, lately. His classes fill up in minutes. His classes are all full right now. His Toronto workshop is full, sold out as well. The last kind of way to hear his awesome lessons and knowledge is in Florence right now. Okay, so you just go to schoolism.com to check that out, and look out for the interview with the great Claire Wendling, as well as the great Steven Silver. All right, take care everybody.